Welcome to Winslows Cool Science Show. My name is Benny, and this is Mary Ann, and my mom. And my mom's got a new book, God's Vivid Volcanoes. We're going to be talking about volcanoes today. All right, Mom, let's rip. Volcanoes. What's cool about volcanoes?
Well, in the United States alone, there's 170 active volcanoes right now. And in the United States, we've got 331 volcanoes. So we have a lot of volcanoes.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot.
The world itself has about 1,500 active volcanoes.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's causing the volcanoes to erupt?
Well, there's a couple things. Pressure, like there's a lot of gases in the volcanoes and the pressure builds up. It's like a soda can. If you're going to shake a soda can and the CO2 has to go somewhere, well, that's similar to a volcano. But it also has to do with the magma chamber. If the magma chamber is filled and the gases are built up, then it's going to burst. It'll erupt. And the amount of eruption depends on the type of viscosity or thickness in the magma. So, in other words, if it's real thick, it's going to burst one way. If it's real watery, it'll burst another way, like slow flowing, like Mauna Loa in Hawaii, because there's a lot of fluid in that magma to start out with, and then of course in air it's called lava. But so the anatomy of a volcano, I guess, because you were asking about a magma chamber. Well, that's where the magma is held, and it could be like anywhere from 1 to 10 miles down. And then you've got a conduit, which is like a pipe where the magma flows through. Oh. And then the vent is where it comes out. Wow. And then there's something also called fumaroles, which is like the vents around the volcano, which would be steam and vapors coming out. So that's a good precursor to say a volcano may be erupting. Another thing that would be a warning sign would be if there's frequent earthquakes, or if there's a swelling in the ground. So
there's a lot of frequent earthquakes right now.
Yeah.
There's one not too long ago, like the other day somewhere. It's really weird. So, okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So the Earth is filled with lava, the middle of it.
The core, yeah.
If there's too much pressure. Okay, go ahead.
Well, what happens is that core is so hot that it melts some of the rock into magma. So magma is lighter than rock around it, and that's what brings it up.
Wow.
Volcanoes form from tectonic plates, and you've heard what tectonic plates are. Earth have these big plates that cover Earth. It's the lithosphere, the crust, but there are plates. Yeah. And for example, like you used to live in Portland, in Seattle, so there's Mount Rainier, which is the most dangerous of the lower 48 volcanoes. So that, for example, would be the Juan de Fuca plate subducted under the North American plate, which caused the formation of Mount Shasta and Mount Rainier and those Cascades volcanoes.
So, if there's seismic activity and you're living next to Mount Rainier, is that a scary place to live?
I think it's really scary, especially because, like I said, that's the most dangerous of the lower 48 is Mount Rainier.
I didn't know how many volcanoes we have in America.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And then we have 3 supervolcanoes. So one in California, Wyoming, and in New Mexico. So a supervolcano is something that, they measure it by 240 cubic miles of ash and lava and rocks, etc., would be bursting out of it. It's that big. 12 miles high. It's that huge. So that would be categorized as a supervolcano.
If it bursts, it'll go 12 miles high?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And we have 3 of them. And Yellowstone is the most famous one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yellowstone has a
supervolcano. Right. It has, it's actually a caldera, but it's called a supervolcano. So a caldera is a volcano that violently bursts, or several bursts, that the magma chamber breaks down, and then it's flat. It's a big a caldera is a huge circular area where a composite volcano used to be, which I'll talk about a composite volcano in a minute. So it's bubbling and there's gases that come out. Well, that's a caldera. That's a supervolcano.
Oh.
Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Well, I just am envisioning, like, they fly drones over volcanoes now and have these awesome footage. And you see these big, like, pots of lava just bubbling.
Right.
So that's it? Okay.
Crater Lake in Oregon.
Yeah.
That is a caldera that filled up with water. So it used to be a huge 12,000 feet high volcano that erupted violently, and now it's about 8,000 feet high, and then there's water is filled up in that caldera.
Wow. What about Mount St. Helens?
Well, that's a composite volcano. So the different volcanoes, I guess we should talk about it since you asked about Mount St. Helens. So a shield volcano is like in Mauna Loa or, in Hawaii, where it's not very tall, but it's really wide and a gentle flow. And it flows very far. The lava is very liquidy, so it doesn't burst out.
Oh, okay.
Like a Mount St. Helens.
Okay.
Okay. And then you've got a composite, which is, those are the really tall, several thousand feet high, steep, big mountains.
Rainier.
Shasta. Right. And they would have a pyroclastic flow, which would be ash and rocks and boulders and lava bursting out of that. And the Ring of Fire, which is the volcanoes around the Pacific, those are all composite volcanoes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like Seattle's about to blow anyway.
I know.
Yeah?
I know.
All those sins up there, Seattle. I
was going to say, too, something that you would know is the Sunset Crater in Arizona. Now, that's called a cinder cone volcano. So what that is it bursts like small nugget size or fist size type of cinders. They call them cinders, but it's actually called scoria, which scoria is like the landscape type of rock you see with all the holes in it.
Yeah. You can put them in a fire and they'll stay hot.
Yeah.
You're talking about the size of like a fist.
Yeah.
I've been hit by a baseball before. That's no joke. That's going through your car, your house. It's going to be pretty destructive.
There's another kind. There's a few others, but we'll just talk about one more.
Okay.
And it's called a lava dome, or a volcanic dome, and that is very viscous, so thick that it doesn't go anywhere. It just mounds up. It's just a big mound.
Oh yeah.
So that's a volcanic dome.
When I'm in the Navy, I'm on my first deployment. I was a quartermaster, so we're basically plotting the voyage on the sea. And, very meticulous. You have to know the Earth, the angle of the Earth, the curvature of the Earth. You'd think that we'd go from San Diego to Hawaii in one straight line. No, we have to plot a course that it mimics the latitude and longitude of our actual round Earth. So we're past Hawaii. We're in like the Marshall Islands, the Bikini Islands, where we blew up the atomic bombs. And we noticed that there was steam coming out of the middle of the ocean, nowhere close to the line, just big geysers of steam. Well, that was volcanic stuff going on under the ocean and building a new island.
Yeah.
And we thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, most of our volcanoes are in the ocean.
Oh, are they really?
So that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just really cool to see that. And my captain had scheduled a swim call for all of us, because we were at sea so long. You stop the ship, you get off, you swim. And but we had to cancel it because we're like, we don't want some sailor getting into a geyser shooting 50 feet in the air, We're getting boiled up. So, yeah, volcanoes are really interesting.
And you're very familiar with the Nine Sisters in San Luis Obispo.
Oh, yeah.
So those are called volcanic necks or volcanic plugs. And those are just remnants. And Thumb Butte, same thing. It's just remnants of a composite volcano that's eroded over time.
Wow.
Now, one of the things, too, about those is that they were formed from a hot spot. Now, most volcanoes, 95% of them are around tectonic plates, but about 5% are developed from a hot spot. So it's magma that seeps through and pierces either a fissure or a thinner crust, and so then it develops. Like, for example, Shiprock is a volcanic neck.
Where's Shiprock?
Shiprock is in New Mexico on the Navajo Indian Reservation.
That's right. It's in your book, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, Mount St. Helens blows its top. half of it spread around all over Washington or wherever it was. Is that a dead volcano? Or is that sucker still alive?
That sucker could very well still be alive.
Oh my God.
And there are some volcanologists that say that there's no such thing as an extinct volcano.
Wow. So a neck, all that is possible.
I don't know. You know, I'm not a volcanologist. Actually, a little interesting tidbit is volcanology comes from the word Vulcan, which was the Roman god of fire.
Oh,
so
that's
why
funny.
they call it volcanologist.
It's a cool word.
Yeah.
It's cool. And Vulcan, the Star Trek. We're all about space around here.
God created benefits because of these volcanoes. I think that's an important part.
What's that?
Is there are benefits to volcanoes. They're not just destructive forces on our Earth. So, for one thing, they give us water into the atmosphere, water into the oceans.
Wow. How do they give us water how do they give us water?
The water, H2O is one of the things that bursts out of volcanoes, is water. Water, mainly water, CO2, and SO2, meaning sulfur dioxide.
Wow.
So, right.
So they're not just bad.
No, they're not just bad. And it provides very rich soil. So you get crops. Crops. It like you were mentioning, you can make, or volcanoes make islands. They make new landforms, which is a benefit. And people that make concrete and roofing materials and you know, those kind of construction professions use volcanic material.
Yeah,
so there are benefits.
You know, you were talking about how it enriches the soil.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in Hawaii, I spent about a month in Hawaii on 3 separate trips with the Navy. We would go to the volcanic side of the. It would be the leeward side, the deserty side of the Big Island of Oahu, and they have Kona coffee there. It's coffee grown from volcanic ash, and it's the best coffee. Oh my gosh! If you can get 100% Kona coffee, now you go to the store, you get coffee, you'll see Kona coffee, and it'll be 10%. If you can get that full Kona coffee, beautiful coffee. If you like coffee, but also they grow the best pineapples there. Dole, they have the Dole plantations, and those pineapples, when they are fresh off of the little plant, they are the most delicious and sweet fruit you can taste. So it enriches the ash. Wine is another thing. They grow great wine around volcanic areas. So
you know, another thing is the steam that comes from volcanoes warms the really cold climates like Iceland. So that there's a benefit to that too.
It's amazing. God's full circle. You know, the most destructive force could be also something that helps us. It's awesome. Good luck, Seattle. We'll see you later.